This is Patrick Jackson, and Patrick, of course, is an author of primary ELT courses, and he's been doing that for about 20 years. He believes the real-world experience and community action are the best way for teachers to engage, inspire, and give meaning to classroom teaching. He's the author of the popular Oxford University Press primary courses, Everybody Up and Shine On, both of which encourage teachers to link their classrooms to the wider world. Patrick is a passionate litter picker, which is difficult to say, and founder of Picker Pals, an environmental initiative that helps children find their special powers. And I'm sure we'll find out more about all those things during this talk. So block 4, we're getting underway. Over to you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Sean, and compliments on the excellent setup for this event. Which is really, really inspiring in itself. I absolutely loved the video, which, yes, and the way it ended as well with them walking down the street and how do you feel? Oh, I'm nervous, but you know, like, yes, well, I'm a little bit nervous today, but I'm feeling very excited and very grateful for this opportunity to share some of the things I've been doing and to meet all of you. So it's lovely to meet you. I'd love to just pause for a moment and for us to marvel at the thought of all of us in our own spaces all over the world, but all connected by this wonderful technology and this wonderful community, and that we have this shared goal of making the world a better place, creating a better future, and making it a pleasant experience for our students and for ourselves, so that communication and connection come together in this wonderful way. So thank you very much for all of you to be here this morning. And yes, let's get this show on the road, as they say. My name is Patrick Jackson. I am based in Dublin, in Ireland. It's a lovely, cool autumn day here today. The leaves are turning brown, and it is definitely, the season has changed. I've got my woolly sweater on. Today I'm going to be talking about all sorts of things, and I believe as teachers we really need to share our own individual story. So my talk today is going to be quite individual, and I would encourage you to look into your lives and into your past and into your current teaching, and to find those things that make you an individual, and to be shy about sharing and involving your own individual passions with your students and making that a part of your teaching. I have a picture here of an owl, and an owl, as you know, is a symbol of wisdom. However, unfortunately, I am unable to claim to be sharing wisdom today, because during the week I actually had my wisdom teeth removed on Wednesday. So I'm a little bit sore still around here. So hopefully they didn't take out all wisdom. At least I have my owl to rely on. So you can see a few silly pictures there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And also I will be sharing some information about the Picker Pals program later in my talk. So I've had the privilege to be on the author team of these courses, Everybody Up and Shine On, both of which are for primary school students. And these courses both aim to do similar things in a slightly different way. Everybody Up is all about linking your classroom to the wider world. And ever since I've started teaching, I have absolutely believed that that is the way forward for teaching, is to make as many connections as we can between our classroom and the wider world. So the classroom can be quite an enclosed place, but as many opportunities we can come up with to break down the walls of our classroom, the better. Shine On is all about allowing each individual student to shine in their own particular way. And I believe that we must always remember that our students have their own lives and their own passions, and that we are not just molding them in a way that we believe they should be, but that we should be bringing out opportunities for them to shine themselves. I'll also be talking a little bit about a project I've been working on for the last 3 or 4 years, which is called Picker Pals, and which is about community action. Because I believe that as many times as possible, we should be connecting our classrooms to the community that we live and work in. And that if we can make those connections to the community, our classrooms become incredibly powerful and influential places. And that our students can become empowered when they realize how important they are in the community, how important they are in their own families. And by making that connection between our teaching and the parents of our students, we can really turbocharge our lessons and the courses, whatever course we're using. So I'll be talking a little bit about that project later on in my talk. And I think, yes, it's been something that's been very exciting for me to see the power of community. So in the talk, we'll be thinking about some of these things. Our own teaching journey and how we can make an impact on the world through our teaching. We'll also be looking at some of the priorities and reevaluating the priorities around how we see our role as teachers and how our students see themselves in the world. I hope I can show you a few ways that you might be able to find your own mission. We'll be looking at ways to unlock the power of curiosity, and I'll be sharing some stories from my cloak, which I have here behind me. Curiosity killed the cat, as they say. No. Curiosity empowered the language teacher. Then we'll also be looking at ways in which connections and the way that we make connections can empower language learning, and see how we can maximize our impact. Because, of course, we became teachers, we became educators because we want to make the world a better place, and we want to have an impact on the world. And I think at this time, particularly, this is very, very obviously a very, very difficult time for the world, and a time that we as teachers are incredibly important in the way the future unfolds for the world. So my own teaching journey, I'd like to share a little bit about. My own teaching journey started in Japan. So as a young man in that picture there, I was in my late 20s. I went to Japan and I started teaching young learners. This was Halloween about 27 years ago. And I soon learned that it was important as a teacher to have a good sense of the ridiculous and not to take yourself too seriously, especially teaching young learners. Now, we don't have to be clowns, and we don't always have to be making jokes and being silly and so on. But I do think we need to be able to be not too proud to put on some funny hats and some funny costumes. Now, I ended up dressing up as a potato quite a lot. And this was connected to some storybooks I wrote. So I used to go around Japan dressed up as a potato. And in fact, I may be the only person to have ever ridden on the bullet train, the famous Japanese bullet train, wearing a potato suit. I wonder, have you guys put on some funny and silly costumes in your teaching careers? If you have, please pop them there in the chat box, because I'd love to see them, and I think everybody else would too. So what is the most ridiculous thing that you have ever done while teaching to get the motivation of your students across? Put those crazy costumes in the chat box there. Now, while I was teaching kids, at first I really didn't have very much training, and I really didn't know much what I was doing. And I think this is a problem for the English language teaching community worldwide, is that there are quite a lot of people who really maybe shouldn't be teaching. And I would say that I was one of those. Now, I dressed as a banana, wonderful Queen of Hearts. This is great, wonderful, Mary Poppins, I say. Is this talk only for primary? No, it is not only for primary. I will be talking about things that refer to all levels of teaching. Now, this picture you have here, it is not a pocket monster. It is not Pikachu. Do you know Pikachu? Well, this is not Pikachu, but I couldn't put Pikachu there for copyright reasons, so I put up one of my own Pick-a-Pals characters there instead. And I'll tell you a story now about motivation and interest. I had a student, he was a little boy, and his name was Yuto, and he was probably, he must have been about 7 or 8 at that time. And I taught him for a whole year, and I would honestly say that he learned nothing. He learned absolutely no English. He was unable after a year to respond to the simplest greetings. His vocabulary had increased by 0, and really I felt very discouraged, and I think he felt very discouraged too. Then one week he came into class, and he had memorized the names of 142 Pocket Monster characters in a week. And these names are all nonsensical names. They're all made up names, which could have equally been English words. And I thought, Yuto, how is it that you remembered 142 Pocket Monster names and you have learned no English from me in a whole year? And then I thought, well, actually, there is something to learn here. And so I started making some little cards for Yuto with Pocket Monsters and English words together. And they worked. And he loved the cards because he loved the Pocket Monsters. And he loved coming to class and saying, Pikachu is yellow. I was like, yes, I have unlocked Yuto. And the key to Yuto is Pocket Monsters. So each of us and each of our students have these keys, and looking for the keys and respecting your students' passions and interests is a very nice and fun way to connect with them. When I left that job at the Potato Club, which was my first job, I wrote a Bible for teachers who were going to come after me. Now, this is quite ironic because I had been teaching for such a short length of time, but I wrote the Potato Club Teacher's Handbook, and I would like to share that with you now. You are a teacher. You are special. Yes, never forget it. I believe that most of the things in this handbook are still relevant, and I think I covered most things in this book. Praise your students. Of course, we need to keep the atmosphere positive. Praise is the best medicine. A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine goes down. Well, in teaching, I think a spoonful of praise is wonderful. Learn from your students. Of course, we are the teachers, but they have so much to teach us, and that they will become alive when they feel that they are the teacher. So learn from them, we can learn from them, and they can learn from each other. So don't hog the space as a teacher. You might have 100 students, they have one English teacher. Again, Yes, obvious, but don't forget it. Look after yourself, very much so. I think wellness and general well-being and the energy that we have, it's so important to prioritize that and to make sure that we are turning up in class in a good frame of mind and a healthy state of body. Variety, yeah, don't forget variety is the spice of life. So break up the routines, have routines, but break them. Introduce new things. If you can, have different people come to the classroom sometimes. Bring in things that they are surprised to see. Stay happy. Who likes a grumpy teacher? Nobody. So stay happy where possible. Again, you don't have to be a clown, but really trying to put a pleasant, smiling face on for your students is really important. Keep your cool. This is for younger learners, obviously. Again, be nice to parents. I think this is for the private language school teacher, a very important factor. Prepare your lessons, of course. Keep moving. Movement, again, for young learners, absolutely essential. But even, I would say, for older people, nobody likes to keep sitting in a chair all lessons. So get people up and moving around the class, because that's what we do, because we're animals and because we need to move to keep the oxygen going around our systems. I'll do some moving now. Please do a little bit of moving wherever you are in the world. Let's feel the difference it makes. Feel the energy sort of exploding around your system when you actually move after you've been sitting for a while, and let your students feel that as well. Just let people get up and walk around for a few minutes. It just stimulates the mind. A busy 50 minutes is a long time. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got another 50 minutes to go here. So hopefully we'll get through lots of interesting things. Safety first, again, for young learners. Unfortunately, there was an accident in one of my classrooms where some students fell off something, and yes, it was very terrible. I had to apologize to the principal and to their parents. So please be careful. And then again, at the end of this book, it said, "You are not just an English teacher." Now, by this, I did not mean you are not just an English teacher. I meant you are not just an English. No, sorry, I didn't mean you are not just an English teacher. I meant you are not just an English teacher. You are not just an English teacher. So you are a role model in all sorts of different ways. So we should be thinking about different ways that our teaching can exemplify good values and all sorts of other things in the classroom, which, yeah. So that was the Potato Club Handbook. So what sort of an impact area should we be looking to make? Now, in the world as it is at the moment, there are obviously all sorts of things that are issues and problems in the world. And the United Nations has made it quite easy for us to identify areas where we need to make an impact. Now, we don't have to make an impact in all of these areas, but I suggest that you look at the Sustainable Development Goals and you think about which ones of these are going to be things that you focus on, because these are the things that the world needs. And as teachers of the next generation, we're in a unique position to make a really big impact on some of these goals. Now, for me, I seem to have ended up gravitating towards nature. For me, it would be things like clean water, life below water, climate action, life on land. These are areas which I have focused on. But For you, it may be some other areas. So maybe in the chat box, you could just have a look at these and see which would you prioritize. Which of these would you prioritize in your teaching, and where would you like to make a most impact, and which ones would you be in the best position to make an impact on? So I'll just take a little sip of my chamomile tea in my coffee cup. Some great ideas. All of them are important. Absolutely, all of them are important. And all of us are involved, of course, in quality education, we hope. 3 and 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 2, hunger. Yes. Very, this is very moving to see all your responses. Now, when I started teaching, many of these things were sort of kind of known. Unfortunately, now they are not just known, but they are happening in front of our very eyes. So there will be a 30 to 60 centimeter rise in what by 2100? What do you think is missing there? There will be a 30 to 60 centimeter rise in, thank you, Andrea, global sea level. Now, I live near the sea, and I live near a lot of very, very big flat areas that are right next to the sea, as do the majority of the world population. So our response to global sea level is obviously something very important. 17 million tons of plastic waste. What in 2021? So in 1 year, what happened to 17 million tons of plastic waste? Please, if you have an idea. 17 million tons of plastic entered the ocean in 2021. That is in 1 year. An absolutely staggering amount. That picture is taken of plastic I collected on the beach near my home. 40,000 what are currently at risk of extinction? (40,000 species are currently at risk of extinction. So the time to act has come absolutely now. There are these problems. Now, this is a very, really depressing slide, but it gives you hopefully a sense of the urgency of the situation and the areas in which we could improve as a species. Now, I don't want to depress us all, but because I believe there is hope, and I think that the fact that we are all here together is just one of those things that shows you how there is hope. But some of the statistics that you will find in this Sustainable Development Goals report are really quite shocking. So I believe there is an urgency, and I think that we should all be actually getting up and being active in addressing these issues. So, as somebody once said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that is a sign of madness. And I think our priorities as a species, and possibly as educators, have not really been the best priorities that will lead us to find solutions to these problems. So our priorities as educators and as an educational system have been towards individual excellence. So to celebrate individuals who get high scores. So, people who do the best in the class, create competition between people. Who's going to win this? Celebrate the people who accumulate the most stuff, the most wealth, the most money. Sort of have this thing about glory and achievements and winning. I mean, winning is okay, but the problem with winning and winners is there aren't really enough of them. There isn't enough winning because everybody else isn't winning. And this is also a bit of a problem with creating heroes. And while we obviously love to have our role models and our heroes, I think we really have to change our priorities around this. Now, instead of individual excellence, I think we should be looking at ways at which collaboration is celebrated. So collaboration, like this event, is celebrated above individual excellence. So instead of scores, who did the best and what points did they get for everything, think about the skills that we're learning. What sort of skills can we learn and what sort of skills are we teaching that will find and make us useful in these battles against these issues that we have? So skills rather than scores. Again, competition is kind of fun. Yes, everybody likes competition, but really it's about connection. And I think if we can look for ways to help our students make connections, and as teachers to make connections with each other. Again, accumulation, we should be celebrating sharing. We should not be celebrating people who just manage to make the most or have the most or so on. We should be celebrating more the act of sharing. Instead of glorifying people, we should be looking to give positive feedback to people who are trying. And achievements, while wonderful, really it should be more about the relationships that we are creating along the way. Winning, yeah, okay, not so much. Maybe, how about serving? And if we do want to put people up, maybe put them up if they're leaders because they're serving others, not because they're just in this sort of glorified state. And again, same with heroes. Let's look, instead of individual heroes and individual actions, saying, wow, that person did so much, they were just so incredible. Let's actually look at the systems. Let's look at the systems we're creating as a society, and the systems that we've created so far, I would say, have led to the problems that we have. So let's see if we can not have let's reevaluate. Now, in my case, my mission, I know my mission now, and it is all about educating primary school children to take control of their local environments and to act in their local environments and to feel power and to lead their families. In my case, it's all about on little litter picking adventures. Now, this for me went way back to when I was a child. So please have a think back to when you were little, because your mission is probably in there when you were a kid. What were you into? What were your favorite books as a child? What were your hobbies as a child? Please write in the chat box, what was your thing when you were little? Now, for me, it was all about picking up a stone and looking under the stone and seeing what creatures were under the stone. So it was all about nature. And this has come throughout my life. Now, I love that comment, better late than never. Yes, indeed, better late than never. In fact, it's never too late. For me, an event really kick-started my latest project. I was out walking on the beach and I came across a seagull, and this seagull was caught up in fishing line, very strong plastic line. And I managed to free the seagull and I let it go, but it made a really big impact on me. And incredibly, the next day I went to the same place and I found a picker-upper tool, a litter picking tool in that place. And so I started picking up litter every day in that place. And it became something of an obsession for me to pick up in this place every day. And there's so much little bits of plastic, big bits, little bits, medium bits. That pile of plastic pieces I picked up in 1 hour off a beach. And there are 1,000 pieces of microplastic in that pile, 1,000 pieces in 1 hour. It wasn't difficult, and it was quite enjoyable, and it was very meditative and mindful, but that was just one person picking for 1 hour. So we need help. So you can unlock a lot of language. Getting to know your enemy. In this case, this is a beach near my home. And for some reason, the beach always has lots of toothbrushes and razors and combs. Toothbrushes and razors and combs on this particular beach. I always call it toothbrush beach. So getting to know and really getting into something, that's when things start unlocking, and that's when magic happens. So yes, combs, razors, and toothbrushes. Now, we're not alone in anything that we're doing. So I started to ask for help. So asking for help, reaching out and asking people in your community for help can again unlock a lot of community activity. We had so much fun. We invited people to come, and we invited people to join and to work together. And that action of just saying, help, please, somebody help us, really, it was I didn't really, it felt a little bit strange because I wasn't, it was a little bit, I felt kind of shy or embarrassed to be asking for help or something. But once you actually say, hey, we're doing this, come and help us, come and join us, then this really unlocked a whole different kind of level of fun and activity. And we just had so much fun doing these big cleans. And curiosity. So everybody loves a puzzle. Everybody loves a mystery. And I think as teachers, when we're on our path, we need to use curiosity. Let me tell you another little story about when I was a teenager. I had a teacher, and I had many teachers, and this teacher came into the classroom one morning and he held up this spoon, and we looked at him and we said, what's going on here? And he said, look at this spoon. And we're like, okay, he's gone completely crazy. And he said, no, look at this spoon. Isn't it beautiful? Look at the elegant design. Look at the marks on the back of the spoon. And we became a little bit curious. We thought, okay, that's kind of interesting. What are these marks? And these marks show where the spoon was made, and they show who made the spoon, and they show when the spoon was made. And it was very interesting. And he then told us, well, this spoon belonged to my grandmother, and it came from so-and-so place. And he told us the story, and he shared with us. So he unlocked a whole world of learning through bringing in that spoon. And I recommend you bring in your spoons or your other interesting items and show them, because real things can really unlock a lot of language and a lot of interest. Now, unfortunately, I can't remember who that teacher was. I can't remember who that teacher was at all, but I remember the spoon. So don't underestimate the power of real things and strange things and things that you find. Yes, show and tell. Exactly. So these are some of the things I found on the beach, and I started bringing these things into the classroom, and it's so rewarding. It's so much fun. The children go absolutely bananas when you bring in this stuff. And they really want to hold things, they want to touch things, they want to pass things around. And the noise level in the classroom when you bring in this stuff just goes through the roof. The children really immediately engage with real things and strange, curious things. This is a little bit scary, this part. Gregory, you said, how good is this with adults? It's absolutely great with adults. This kind of thing absolutely works terrifically well with adults and students of all ages, because everybody loves something that is curious. Everybody likes something that they don't really know what it is. And it gives people an opportunity to talk to each other and to learn something. So this is a little bit scary. I found these three heads on the same beach on the same day. Dun, dun, dun. Isn't that so scary? I mean, really, what happened? 3 heads of Ken on the same beach on the same day. I don't know what happened. I don't know why those 3 heads were on that beach on that day. As you say, Fatou, this is crazy. It is crazy. So please tell me what happened. What's going on here? Write your ideas in the chat box. What actually happened? So again, you can imagine with kids or adults or anyone, even you guys, what happened? Please write. Where's the bodies exactly? Yes. Maria says, Barbie had a bad day. Excellent. That's very funny. Yeah, so we can, a sculptor not happy with his work, left them though. How wonderful. You see, we're getting stories. A ship with Ken dolls capsized, possibly. Talking Heads Convention. Thank you. Thank you, William. So some great ideas immediately coming out from something strange. Again, another group of 3 things that I found on the same beach. Look, can you see? Now, people from some parts of the world watching will know immediately what these are. But in Ireland, nobody knows what these are. When you show these to people, everybody goes, what's that? Is it a... So look at them. What do you think they are? See, the curiosity is bringing forth ideas. Dinosaur eggs, excellent idea. These are actually a kind of nuts. They're a type of nuts. They're called completely nuts. And they come all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, and they floated all the way to Ireland across the Atlantic. So again, the curiosity that these kind of things bring up, and it doesn't have to be things you find on the beach. You can find things in your in the drawers in your house to bring in and talk about. So these they're not called completely nuts. No, they're called kahune. I don't know if the pronunciation, kahune nuts, and they come from the Caribbean, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I found a bottle on the beach, and inside the bottle there were 3 tickets rolled up. 3 tickets rolled up. I took them out. On the tickets, as you can see here, there is a little mark, and it's a polar bear. A polar bear. And these tickets had come all the way from Greenland, from the western coast of Greenland, and they had traveled all the way down the coast of Canada. They would have gone down, probably down nearly as far as Florida, and then come across the Atlantic Ocean, up the Irish Sea, and landed on my beach. So because we are in the Twitter age, I was able to tweet the name of the place. And somebody from that village in Greenland got in touch with me, and they said, wow, that's so cool. Our tickets went all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and came to you. And really, it's quite horrifying, because it shows you how this plastic stays in our environment for so long. It stays in our environment for so long. And it also shows us how connected we all are by the ocean. And so I sent the tickets back to Greenland, or I sent one of them back. I kept one for me. I sent one back, and they put it in a museum there. So if you go to Uummannaq in Greenland and you go to their museum, if you go to the museum, you will find some tickets there, which made it all the way to Howth in County Dublin. Ram, the tickets were 18 years old when I found them. So they had been on a journey of 18 years, bobbing along in the ocean. So for me, you can probably tell that my passion for this strange hobby has triggered all sorts of learning and all sorts of connections and all sorts of excitement for me. Now, I ended up having so much of these curiosities that I had to put them on a garment, on a cloak, which I bring to schools and I showed to the kids in the schools, and they, as I said, go completely nuts. And we put it on the teachers, and everybody has a wonderful time. But although it is fun and it is colorful, really, it's a way to get in to talk about the problems of no, I didn't find a baby, Claudia. that is my great nephew Oscar, and unfortunately he will be growing up in this world full of plastic waste. But yes, he is he's a keen litter picker now as well. He's 1.5. So connections. I'm just going to have another little sip. Really, because we want to use our time as teachers as best possible, we want to make connections with as many people as possible. We want to make good connections with our students, and we want our students to become connected people, connected, powerful people, connected people. And I think if you think back to that video that Sean showed us at the beginning, when you find the words, that video really is about language, but it's really more so about connections, about human connections. And through these empowering connections, we will have some sort of chance of making a better future. For 15 years, I had Japanese teenagers come to Ireland and study abroad programs. And it was the first time that this school had sent people. And so these boys, they were all boys, arrived at first, and they were always very, very shy, and very, very, really quite uncomfortable. And then one year we started a project and we called it Japan Corner. And Japan Corner was really just a couple of tables, and they would show Japanese things on these tables. So they would show some origami, they would show how to use chopsticks, they would show, they would have some traditional Japanese clothes, and they would have some Japanese snacks and this kind of thing. And they would set this up outside the language school at break time. And it absolutely transformed everything about that whole program. So they went from being very uncomfortable, very shy, very awkward teenage boys to becoming the stars of the show. And the other nationality kids absolutely loved what they were doing. Because Japan is very cool. A lot of the Italians and the Germans and the Spaniards, they knew about manga and anime and this kind of things. So having been very uncomfortable, because they were telling the story of stuff that they knew and they were passionate about, they were able to unlock all sorts of language, all sorts of friendships, and as you say, yes, Elisabetta, connection and collaboration. So we did this every year. After the second year, we did this every year, and we did it very early on in their time in Ireland, so that for the whole time that they were there, they became, they're the cool Japanese kids. Hey, hi. And that was because we gave them something that they were able to share and be proud of their culture and be proud of their it gave them language. It gave them an opportunity to use language, talking about things that they knew about. Twice I've had the privilege of bringing orchestras. Once I brought a English orchestra, an orchestra from an English school, to Japan. And then once I brought an orchestra from a Japanese school to England. So on both occasions, we did joint concerts and with the schools. So the schools they had a partner school, and they did a joint concert and joint sightseeing and activities. And yes, shared experiences. So this kind of playing music together, staying together, and shared experiences, absolutely wonderful. And it was a completely different sort of level. Now, obviously, not everybody can travel abroad. In fact, traveling abroad, probably environmentally speaking, is something we will be doing less of. But we can recreate this experience. Now, this was a project that one of the teachers did at the school, the junior high school. And this was a postal project, a snail mail project. And it was wonderful. We had snail mail projects where we send packages of things to about a dozen different countries, and they would send us things. And that was the most exciting lessons, were when these packages arrived, and there would be stuff for everybody in the class, and they would write postcards, and they would get postcards, and then they would continue sending and communicating with the classrooms. And I know the internet is cool and everything, but actually there's something very magical about a real handwritten card, and so on. I recommend that you do this kind of project with people, that you set up and you do this kind of project, as it really does. It's a great way to excite and motivate. Connections within the classroom also, because everybody is arriving at your classroom with their own different experiences. So we did a project in my university classes, which was based on a book called Scraps, where everybody made scrapbook pages about hobbies and so on. And they would then present to each other in groups. So they made these poster presentations that they would then present each other. Now, this is wonderful because they were practicing their English. They were doing their presentation a number of times, and they were getting to know each other and having fun, because, again, within a class, these were university students, and they were a little bit shy about getting to know each other, and they tended to group and to clump into groups. But this was a way of getting them making connections. It was really fun. Another thing we did in Ireland here was we brought the kids to the local radio station. And that was unbelievably exciting. And that was another way that we were able to make a connection with the community. Now, okay, so we want to maximize our impact. What way can we maximize our impact? I'll talk now for a few minutes about the Picker Pals program, which started with my trousers. Now, as I told you, I had been litter picking in the local area, and we'd been doing local beach clean projects. But I thought, is there a way that we can connect with more kids, get children doing this, get out and about around the country? So I made a pack that contained this litter picking equipment. Now, actually, I say I made the pack. In fact, my mother, who's 88, made the pack. And she made this beautiful pack, and we put a fun character on it, and it had everything for litter picking in it. And I brought this down to the local school, and I gave it to the school. And there is the first boy going out with the picker pack. Now, he took the picker pack, which was made from my trousers, yes, and he brought it home, and he led his family on a litter picking adventure. So it went great, and he came back and he told everybody, and he was, the star of the show, and he gave it to the next child, and then each child took it in turns to bring the picker pack home. We needed more picker packs. So we thought, let's do it in loads of schools. So I got sales from our local dinghy club, and we went to a local community workshop where they were teaching people how to stitch. And there's my mother, and she taught them how to make picker packs. And then they made a whole load of picker packs, and we gave them to all the schools. So this was increasing our impact. Then we wrote some stories to go with the things to add some fun and more motivation. Again, if we wanted to really change behavior, we wanted to give the children something to be proud of and something that they could share and enjoy and get excited about. So now Picker Pals is in half the schools, the primary schools in Ireland. It's been quite an incredible sort of growing story. We've received a lot of support, including support from Oxford University Press, the well-known and wonderful publisher. So thank you, Oxford University Press. And people have helped us and supported us because we asked for help. So now, as I say, you can see all these marks are schools who are running this Picker Pals initiative. And we plan to have Picker Pals all over the world. So here are some Picker Pals acting to make the world a better place in China. And this was through Universe Connection. I was in China. I said, oh, would you like to do Picker Pals? And she said, yeah, we'd love to. And so they organized their Picker Pals event. And I love the banner they made. We care, we act. We care, we act. Powerful. Now, this is coming to the end. I would like to take a few questions if possible. Here are some of the Picker Pals. We are all strange. We are all different. We are all made up of all sorts of parts. And we really can make a difference when we work together. Now, for me, at the moment, I'm completely obsessed with this litter picking project. And it has shown me how you can start something very small with something. You can start something very small yourself, and you can, by asking for help and putting it together, you can make an impact. And anybody can do that. Absolutely, anybody can do that. Start something small. Start with something that's a problem that's right in front of you, that you can make a small impact. Ask for help. Put it together. And it will gain momentum. And if you're feeling a little bit small and powerless, please know that you are not small and powerless. We are all connected, and together we can make a better future. Thank you. Many hands make light.
Patrick, just a second, your internet's lagging.
Oxford. There's a little bit of time for some questions. I hope they're easy ones. So I'll hand over to Sean again, and I would love to take a couple of questions.
Hi, Patrick. Your internet's lagging. Right at the end, your internet just started to lag a little bit, so just be aware of that.
Okay.
Okay, there are a few questions. Can you see them?
Yes. Yes, I can. Yes. Eva, you ask a question. Is there a website for snail mail? We used to use a website called epals.com. I don't know if it still exists. How did you prepare your class and make it interesting? Well, for me, it's as I was saying, it's all about choosing something curious, bring something new to class. Could you make a Pick-a-Pals project a teenager project? Yes, I believe so. I think you need to be careful not to put off teenagers by making it too childish. You need to motivate teenagers in a slightly different way. I think they need to be running the show. So I would say yes is the answer. Can we do all these? Please, can we do this in class? Yes, of course you can. Yes, you can use these kind of activities in class. You can also build bridges between class and homework. You can incorporate these ideas with your textbook. Your textbook will have lots of inspirational starting points for this kind of project. All books now have units and elements about the environment and so on. So absolutely, I would connect with what you're teaching in your textbook and then take the additional steps to make them more community related. How to get connected with schools abroad. How do we get connected? Well, as I say, we used to look online. There are communities of teachers and classrooms online where you can make the initial connection. Have you always had a consensus by the school for your projects? In my case, yes. I have found the schools I work with and the schools I've worked in have been very accepting and positive about things. Now, schools obviously have to be careful. So there is protocol, there are permissions and so on. So you must obviously don't just do something like this, but without checking that it is okay. I have found that schools are very keen to connect with the community. Schools, like everybody, they want to look good, they want to have a positive impact, and they want to make connections with families. So in the case of Pick-a-Pals, many schools say, oh, it's wonderful because it's given us a chance to connect with the parents, and it's given us something that the parents can engage with the school with. How can you adapt this to online teaching? Very interesting. Well, I would say show and tell is an excellent online teaching activity. So I would say that would just come to mind. Have you worked with ADHD, low attention span students? Well, the Pick-a-Pal program has worked in all sorts of schools in Ireland. Personally, I have never taught in a special school, although I have taught in classrooms with ADHD and low attention span students, and I understand the challenges. But I think that this kind of activity is particularly appropriate. So I think, Sean, I'm probably coming to an end, am I?
Yeah, you're close to it. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed this opportunity to share what I've been doing and some ideas I've had over the years. I hope it's been of some use. My final message would be that really you can make a difference, and that once you start and you act, then magic starts to happen, whether it's picking up litter on the beach or interviewing old people in your community or whatever it might be. But please get started and keep in touch. And thank you very much, Oxford University Press, for this wonderful opportunity to be part of this community. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Patrick.